I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 1st. It's hard to believe that May's already here, guys. Brought to you in part by Specialty Risk Insurance. Kevin Charleston and his brother Jake have a large staff there with tons of experience. Right there in Carthage, Missouri, across the interstate from Joplin Regional Stockyards. They're one of the top ag business insurance agencies in the nation and quickly becoming a premier agency for construction and commercial insurance in the Midwest. I can't think of any ag business that they couldn't take care of all your insurance needs. And Sale Barns, it's like a turnkey deal, guys, from one end to the other, from your buildings, your livestock, your workman's comp, your bonds, everything, guys. And I tell you what, you need to get a hold of them. For more information, go to specialtyrisk.com. A wrong made right. And boy, I tell you what, all of us in the agriculture and the cattle industry are sure glad to see that the Trump administration has announced that the U.S. government has dropped criminal charges against the Maud family. You remember them. They're the ones in South Dakota there. They had been all the time believing for generations that there was one little 25-acre spot there that they had made improvements on, that all of a sudden somebody said it wasn't theirs and it belonged to the government. And, you know, they wanted to see what the deal was. The government had come in there and done inspections and different checks for, like I said, generations and never found a problem with it. And then all of a sudden they did. And the Biden administration was coming down on them with a hammer, threatening them with lengthy prison time and all kinds of things. And, you know, a lot of us were trying to gather some support for them and get the word out. But they were in Washington, D.C., the Maud family, on Wednesday, had a press conference with Harriet Hageman, the lone U.S. representative from Wyoming, and she's a champion for ranchers' needs right there, guys. You remember her. She's the one that's got the push out to stop the mandatory EID tags. We're a big proponent of hers. But also Secretary Brooke Rollins. She was involved in that, and pretty much everybody in the Trump administration, they want to get things right. I mean, at the very most, it could have just been a small disagreement about a small piece of land there. There was no need for them to be facing prison time, having to leave their children and all kinds of things. I tell you what, and from everybody I talked to, the Maud family are stand-up people there and ranchers right there in South Dakota. But I got to give a little bit of credit at least to Jim Mundorf and Shad Sullivan with the Lonesome Lands podcast. They recently had it on one of their episodes and drew some more attention to it. So just so glad, and it's just another thing that Trump is having to fix from that sleepy Joe Biden administration there. But always glad when we see a wrong made right. If you're like me and your heroes have always been cowboys, your daughter was down a little bit on Wednesday. We found out that legendary rodeo cowboy Roy Cooper had died. And my gosh, I mean, Roy Cooper, that's somebody we just always looked up to and thought about, maybe the best roper there ever was. I mean, he won many calf roping titles, many steer roping titles, and even a team roping title there, champion of the world. But I sure hate to hear that. I didn't know Roy Cooper. I'd met him on a few different occasions from when I was a little kid up till later in life, but and always loved to be around people that knew him and had Roy Cooper stories there. But it's just hard to believe all the wild stuff that he had done over his life and all the places he'd been, the things that he'd done, that he would fall victim to apparently a house fire in the middle of the day. And that's just sad to see. It kind of reminded me of my uncle Todd Bebb, my mom's little brother. He was 10 years older than me, and he was a lover and a fighter and a wild bronc rider, and he rode bareback horses for 10 or 15 years there in Texas Panhandle, eastern New Mexico, all in the 5-state area there, and he was really good. Never went pro. He was just having too much fun down there winning those rodeos every weekend. But he was a wild one, and ended up losing his life at a very young age, actually building fence, replacing a fence post in an existing barbed wire fence, and it reached out and grabbed his coat and spun him up in the auger there, and that was a terrible way to go. But we're going to miss Roy Cooper, definitely. I want to tell you about a couple of big sales that's coming up here right today, guys. Enid Livestock Market in Enid, Oklahoma. That's our friend Dakota Davis. They're a DV auction broadcaster. They're going to have 3,000 head here today on Thursday in Enid, Oklahoma, including 100 head of fancy first calf heifer pairs. They're home raised, they're reds and blacks, they're ready to turn out. Slick deal there, guys. And then they're going to have 2,500 feeder steers selling in loads and multi-loads, including a 500 head string of fancy black yearling steers. They're weighing from 8.5 to 9. They're going to sell in 3 drafts. But you need to be paying attention to that sale. If you can't be in Enid, Oklahoma, get online, get on to DVAuction.com. The pairs are going to sell at 10:30 in the morning here today, and then they'll get started on the feeders at noon. Another sale here today, or this evening actually, Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. That's Jack Harrison, our friend there. Got another one of his monthly special cow sales. It's going to be tonight, May the 1st at 6 p.m. And he's got an outstanding offering, over 1,000 head of replacements there, including 50 fancy black first calf heifer pairs with February calves on them, 100 head of fancy black 3 to 5 year old pairs, and 50 head of fancy black 3 to 6 year old pairs with great big old 300 to 400 pound calves at their side, and they're going to sell that way, guys. And then with all the other offerings he's got from local producers around there, he's got 800 fall bred cows there, mostly young, and they're going to be have really tight calving windows on them. They're on DVAuction.com, also starting at 6 p.m. here today on Thursday. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. April live cattle futures were down 60 cents at 215.75. June, which is going to be our spot month here right now, is down 180 all the way down to 208.40, and we're trading cattle, fed cattle, at the same time well over $10 more than that. So it needs to get with the program. Your back months were unchanged to down 162. We haven't seen a correction on the board here for a while because it's just been up, 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 and you have to believe once in a while we're going to have a down day. But everybody that I talk to that thinks common sense expects the board to be sharply higher here today on Thursday. Of course, that's the problem. It makes too much sense. So I'm not sure if it will be or not, but it sure should be. Feeder cattle for May down 145 at 292.57, and it's well below your index levels, guys. And August feeder cattle down 187 at 295.02. Your back months on feeder cattle down $1.20 to down $1.80. Look at your grains. May corn was down 6 3/4 cents at 467 1/4. May beans down 6 1/4 cents at 1034 3/4. And your hard red winter wheat for May down a penny at 514 1/4. Your fat cattle trade, we did see quite a bit of trade happen on Wednesday, and usually it's lower when we see that happen. Now the board being down scared a few people into selling their fed cattle, but they sold them higher, and a bunch higher. It was sharply higher. Iowa sold 550 head before 2 o'clock when they turned that information in to mandatory price reporting with USDA. They sold 1,700 for the week. Live price in Iowa on Wednesday was 220. Dress sales from 348 to 350. Nebraska sold 1,200 head before 2 o'clock. 1,500 for the week. Live price in Nebraska. Somebody puked some fats at 213. I don't know if they don't have a radio or they don't have any internet or TV or neighbors or a telephone or anything, but sold some cattle at 213. The others were at 220. But dress sales from 340 to 350. Kansas sold only 100 head before 2 o'clock. 1,150 for the week. Live price in Kansas was 218. Texas sold 500. That's all they've sold all week. They were selling at 214, but all this was before 2 o'clock, and the trade really started to happen at 2 o'clock, right after the board closed and right before they have to turn those cattle in to mandatory price reporting. I did hear through very reliable private sources that after 2 o'clock on Wednesday, we had more significant trade. Northern Plains was selling cattle from 220 up to 224, and some really top quality dress sales up to 354 and a half. Wow. Now we'll see if those get turned in or not. Southern Plains was selling quite a bit of cattle at 218. They were swinging gates down there for the few guys that sell negotiated cash in Kansas and Texas. On the Fed Cattle Exchange on Wednesday morning, they sell cattle all over the country, guys, including some really high, top quality fed cattle out of Alabama that they sold on the Fed Cattle Exchange through Central Stockyards. They bring 217 delivered. That's probably way better than they were expecting, and way better than I would have expected in the southeast down there for fed cattle, guys. But they can help you out there. Get a hold of them. A couple of fat cattle auctions there on Wednesday. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had about 900 head. The conventional fed cattle sell from 216 to 222. That was steady to $2 higher. The program cattle from 215 to 220.60. They did have dairy steers there selling from 185 to 193. Another fed cattle auction nearby at Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota. Their fed cattle were $3 higher on 650 head of slaughter cattle there. The conventional fed cattle in Watertown sell from 213 to 216. Some returning to feed, bringing 225 to 228. Program cattle from 216 up to 224, and big fat fed cows from 150 to 165. Box beef cutout values, they had a correction too. I told you we gained nearly $12 on your choice just on the first 2 days of the week. On Wednesday they were down. Choice was down $2.95 at 345.31. Select's down $1.80 at 322.02. Your slaughter through the first 3 days of the week, 345,000 estimated cattle slaughter through federal inspection. That's 5,000 less than this point last week, 14,000 less than this point the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Legacy Beef Co-op. I tell you what, protect your assets by putting a $25 deposit down, and you can insulate yourself from unforeseen board market drops. And I tell you what, it's a good investment, guys. Of course, they're building that plant there near Council Bluffs, Iowa. This co-op will own a 20% stake in that plant, and you will be invested in that. Contact James Timmerman at legacybeefcoop.com, and if you haven't already seen it, I'm going to attach the video interview that I did with James a few weeks ago there at the end of this Feeder Flash episode, and you can watch that for more information. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index on DVAuction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer, 7-day moving average at the end of trading on Thursday sitting at 296.18. That was up $1.21, still inching closer to that $300 that I figured that we'd probably get to here this week or maybe next. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 295.77. You don't want to miss another sale here on Thursday. It's the primetime livestock video from right there at Joplin Regional Stockyards. They're having about 10,000 head for their primetime livestock video. It's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, most of the time on their Thursday videos, they start them at 1, but a little bigger run this time. They're going to start it at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a lot of yearlings, some grazing yearlings. It's got deliveries from current all the way through midsummer deliveries there, guys, on some of them cattle coming off Flinios. So check that out. Primetime Livestock video. It's on DVAuction.com starting at 10 o'clock in the morning here today on Thursday. Let's talk about your big sales on Wednesday. How about OKC West El Reno Livestock Market in El Reno, Oklahoma? 5,000 head for their 2-day sale there, with calves on Tuesday and feeders on Wednesday. The feeder steers are $3 to $7 higher. Stocker steers $8 to $13 higher. Feeder heifers were unevenly steady. Stocker heifers from $3 to $6 higher. And the calves on Tuesday were steady to $5 higher, with spots as much as $15 higher. So pretty much like every other place, but really good sale there at El Reno. How about a market further north and west there? Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming had a big sale on Wednesday, about 4,000 head. They haven't had a good test for several weeks, so it's really hard to call a trend on that, but the market reporter did say that it is getting dry in that area. You know, we've had so much rain in the southern plains and in the lower Midwest and all around, but out there in Torrington, Wyoming, it's getting pretty dry, which it does quite often this time of year. How about Torrington was your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. Look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central and look at your best tested weights. 262 head of 5-weight steers in Torrington averaged 548 with a weighted average price of $380.72. 360 head of 6-weight steers averaged 651 at $354.79. 426 head of 7 weights averaged 740 at $323.63. 314 head of 8-weight steers in Torrington, Wyoming averaged 832 with a weighted average price of $302.30. Weighing in the eights, guys. Your heifers, 652 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 554 at $349.97. 848 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 641 at $323.98. And 418 head of the 7-weight heifers at Torrington Livestock Markets averaged 738 pounds with a weighted average price of $299 smooth. Give you some individual quotes from all over the country. How about North Arkansas Livestock in beautiful downtown Green Forest, Arkansas? 141 head of 751 pound steers through the ring there at Green Forest. Bring 318. Put wheels under those, guys. How about Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota? Sell some big steers really high. 97 head, 942 pound steers, so deep in the nines at $289. How about out east at Bluegrass Stockyards in Albany, Kentucky? One of the smaller locations there, but man, can they sell them at times. 71 head, 775 pound steers in Albany, Kentucky at Bluegrass Stockyards. Bring $318.75. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, indeed come out of Torrington with 53 steers, weighed 759 and bring 333. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.
I'm Corbett Wall with this feeder flash feature. I'm going to be interviewing James Timmerman here with Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef. How are you doing, James?
Good. How are you doing, Corbett?
Now, this is the first time we've met, right?
That's correct.
But the Timmerman name is synonymous with top quality cattle feeding and top quality beef production, right?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it ties in with this new venture?
Yes. So my family is, like you said, in the cattle feeding, ranching business. All started with my grandfather in the mid-40s, moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and built a feed yard there to be closer to the stockyards. My dad and his brothers took over the family business and grew it in western Nebraska and eastern Colorado. And they themselves got involved in beef processing in the mid-90s. And so that family legacy really is expanded to 2 brothers and cousins who are in the cattle feeding business. And myself, I kind of chose a little different path and went into beef processing and was in the business for 25 years. And so it's kind of led me here to Legacy Beef Co-op.
So you got a lot of background in this industry. What drew you to Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef?
So I've heard about the project for the last few years and just got a little bit of information. We discussed the co-op model. I thought it was perfect for the industry at this time in kind of the development of beef processing. And so I really wanted to be part of the team, and kind of coincidence, they were needing some assistance with the co-op. And so then in October of 2024, I decided to join Legacy Beef and work on the project.
So last time we were interviewing Chad Tenninger, and you have become involved with him with this venture, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now he has experience in this, and he was telling us about the efficiencies that he's put into this new plant. Do you see these efficiencies and how they're going to help the success of this plant in the long run?
I really do, because a lot of the plants now being developed in the last 4 or 5 years, the technology is really really amplified to where it was, where there's a lot more robotics involved in the actual processing and the sorting of beef products, also in the storage, where it really helps reduce the labor needed for beef processing, which in turn, with labor being the biggest cost, reduce the cost and makes the plant much more efficient.
I see. James, can you give our audience just a kind of an overview of Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef, what we're talking about exactly?
Yes. So Legacy Beef Co-op is the co-op that producers will join and be members of. Cattlemen's Heritage is the beef processing plant being developed near Council Bluffs, Iowa. So the members of Legacy Beef will be equity members in Cattlemen's Heritage, and the equity we raise through the co-op, they will be 20% owners of Cattlemen's Heritage.
So what do you see valuable within the co-op model and eventually the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant?
What I like a lot about the co-op model is that it allows small to medium-sized cattle producers to be involved, one, in a co-op that helps them out in their operations. Plus, I think within the beef industry, I think we do need more producer involvement. So with this model, if you join the co-op and become a member of the co-op, you also have the opportunity to invest in Cattlemen's Heritage Beef as well. So you do have a little bit of equity in cattle and beef production.
So do you think ultimately this type of a model for the beef packing will help keep more smaller farmer feeders in business?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I
And
do.
that's one thing that drew you to it.
That's really what draws me to it, is because I do think you hear a lot of stories being out in the country with small producers, anywhere from 2,500 head they feed to even up to 10,000, how they really are looking for better marketing opportunities and really more equitable arrangements compared to the larger feeders in the country.
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the investment model with Legacy Beef Cooperative and where we're at within that?
So the overall investment, have 5 rounds of investment. Currently, we have sold through the first 2 rounds, so we're in the 3rd round. To what we are currently in right now is what we're calling our seed round, which is giving you the opportunity to reserve your space, or shackle space in the investment in Cattlemen's Heritage. So right now, to reserve a spot is $10 per head. We'll reserve a spot in the co-op and you become a member of the co-op. The share price we're currently at in round 3 for the equity investment in Cattlemen's Heritage is $175 per share per shackle space.
Okay. And that's gone up from the first and second.
Correct.
Round,
So it was started at 125 for the first round, 150 for the second. So right now 175, and then round 4 is 200 and round 5 is 225.
Okay.
So there are advantages in getting in currently.
Right. So, but to reserve your spot, you need to be invested in one of the rounds at least, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, is there a maximum or a minimum of your spots that you can reserve?
The minimum would be, we say there's no minimum, but the best really is one load. So we do have members who are buying 40 shares just for
Just
one
for a
load a
load of
year.
cattle?
Yes, and there is no maximum.
Okay. And that's annually. So if you bought 40, you could send one load of fed cattle into the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So you've got a key date coming up here this summer. Tell me about July 1st and what that's going to kick off.
That's correct, Corbett. On July 1st, we are really going to start the co-op on an operational basis. So we are going to start offering members marketing opportunities for the cattle that are part of the co-op. Also look at ways that we can help them on their purchasing power. And really what the goal with that co-op starting on July 1st is really to give the small to medium producers the same, put them on the same level playing field as the big feed yards.
I see. So these shares, once you purchase them, they're going to have value, right? And will you be able to market them among other shareholders?
Yes. So really the way we have it structured is that per share that you purchase, you are obligated to deliver the animal. Then if you feel like you cannot make the delivery, then you do have the ability to lease those shares out to other members of the co-op that they can, you can have some value owning these shares and you can have cattle delivered on those shares.
We've seen something similar to this with U.S. premium beef in Kansas. So, and that those shares have become pretty valuable. Do you see that happening with this venture?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. What kind of cattle are we looking to harvest at Cattlemen's Heritage Beef? Do you have a target?
Currently, we don't have a specific target, but as most beef processors, we're looking for a high grade, high quality beef. But really, we're not going to specify exactly what we need to have delivered.
So, James, this whole venture has kind of been based off of marketing the cattle off of the dressed beef price rather than the live market or the way some of your big four packers price the cattle or purchase the cattle. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. So we are looking for the pricing the cattle is using the USDA choice market as the base and plan on gridding the cattle with premiums and discounts based off USDA choice, which is different than buying them live or buying them just dressed beef.
Right. And the market's been really good, all-time record highs here posted within the last few months on every class of cattle that there is, but that's not going to last forever.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
we may be able to insulate some of these producers from the downside of this going forward, don't you think?
Yes, yes. We feel like, really with the pricing model we have in place for the cattle, it really it gives protection because you're going to be paid what the plant is selling you beef for. So you really get the true value of your beef.
I see. So you're basically going to be sharing more of the pie than what cattle feeders are used to, the way things have been set up, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
great.
Yes.
So this is primarily set up for smaller feeders. Of course, a bigger feeder could get involved in it too. But how many cattle are we looking to harvest annually?
So annually, we're looking to harvest about 525,000 head annually. So 2,000 head a day on one shift per day.
So is that how many shares there's going to be put out then is 525,000
That's correct.
annually?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so all of those cattle. So you won't be having to get short of cattle and be looking for them. You'll know that they're coming. How will you schedule the cattle in?
The way I look at it is that really once you know your cattle are ready to come in, you need to call us. We'll schedule based on really first come, first serve. If you call, we'll put up if we know the week your cattle are ready, we'll schedule them. But we also will probably need to go out on the market some in certain months, especially in the summer,
to fill some gaps.
To fill in some gaps.
I see. Okay. Now you're also looking at producers further in the line to maybe fill some of these gaps. And you've got a cow-calf program, or a cow-calf producer program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So we are looking and visiting with cow-calf producers all throughout the country. And as you know, the market right now, they are selling their calves with a pretty good profit. But as we also know that the market will, there will be a downturn. So what we are really is targeting with cow-calf producers is that they become members of the co-op. They own the shares, so it really gives them a lot of flexibility based on the market. Either they can sell their calves like they currently are now, and then lease their shares out to the feeders who buy them. But then the cow-calf would still get benefits of ownership in terms of delivery fees and equity. But they also, it gives them a little protection that if they want to retain ownership in their calves, they can feed them out and then have somewhere to go that will still give them a hedge and true value of what their carcasses are worth.
All right. So Legacy Beef Cooperative has pretty much all been set up to get the investment and get the core to get Cattlemen's Heritage Beef going, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have a time frame on Cattlemen's Heritage Beef when we think we would have that going and could start harvesting some cattle?
Currently, we are still scheduled to start groundbreaking towards the end of this year, which would really, it's a 2-year construction project, so probably the beginning of 2028. But as we explore market conditions, especially in the next few months, and look at heifer retention, we do also have the ability to delay a little bit and open when the market conditions seem more advantageous.
As tight as packer margins are right now, I wouldn't blame you by
Yes.
dragging your feet just a
No.
little bit. So might be better for the whole project if you do.
Yes, yes.
But it's just it's right on the horizon here. I mean, it'll be here before you know it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So of the 5 rounds of investment, we've made it through the first 2, and then we're working on the 3rd round. How much longer do you think it'll take to finish that up?
Well, our goal for the next round really is to have it completed by July 1st,
Okay.
and then move on to the next.
I see. So if we've got some listeners that are interested in investing into Legacy Beef Cooperative, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you guys and see what they want to do?
Well, the best way to get a hold of us is go to our website, which is www.legacybeefcoop.com, and there is a submission form where you can send us your information. You can email me directly at james@legacybeefcoop.com or call me at 531-375-6559.
Well, we're moving right along on this Legacy Beef Cooperative investment, and it won't be long before we're going to have groundbreaking on this Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant. It's an exciting new venture, the efficiencies we've talked about, and it was great to get to talk to you and learn more about this project.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad I could share it with you.
Until next time, I'm Corbett Wall with this Feeder Flash feature.